and we are live though too from my bunker. Hopefully, we have no issues this evening, and we'll go from there. So again, for all you out there, um, check out our sponsor and go on to Crowd Play and type in the box for 10 free points, and uh, send in your comments and anything else going on this evening. And we'll start off with a heavy helping of the
Phillies
the
bullpen woes.
what's that?
The Phillies bullpen woes
Yeah, exactly.
as they are trailing 9-7 to the Blue Jays after leading 7-0.
Yeah,
It's a disaster.
it was kind of scary though too. I just watched it, and now they're down. I think it's a doubleheader today, so they're down to the seventh inning. So we're top of is it top of the seventh yet or no?
Yep, it is. So they're about to lose both ends of the doubleheader,
Unbelievable.
and the bullpen gave up 9 runs.
Neris got taken out though too, so should be interesting though too. You know, he threw a couple of meatballs and then a wild pitch tied the game up, and then a bloop single to put Toronto ahead. So we'll see if they hold on.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing the Phillies have been missing is a bullpen, because the offense has been one of, if not the best offenses in all of baseball. And you can just check the numbers on that. They've been fantastic. Harper's been playing at an MVP level. JT Realmuto has been very good. And even if with some of the other guys struggling, they're still scoring runs. But they just cannot get any outs once they get past the 7th inning. When they get in the 7th inning, they just can't get outs. The starting pitching has been good with Nola and Wheeler, and for the most part, it's been competent. But when your bullpen gives up 4-5 runs, it seems like every single night, sometimes more, it's hard to win close games, and you got to outslug people and score 7, 8, 9 runs just to win. And it's a really tough thing to do. If they do not go out at the trade deadline, which is pushed back this year to August 31st at 4 p.m.
Right.
If they don't go out this year and acquire a bullpen arm, which they haven't done the last year or 2 years at the deadline, Matt Klentak should get fired on the spot. If 4 p.m. on the 31st comes and they haven't added anything to this bullpen, because you look at this team, they have a chance to make the playoffs. Now, they're not going to win the World Series, but they can make the playoffs if they add a bullpen arm or two.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and the offense, like I said, is we knew they're going to score runs though too, and I really thought they were turning the corner. But I mean, what's the bullpen? Last I checked, did it go down from 10 down to 9 down to what 7? But they give up how many runs tonight? So it's just it's tough to watch. I mean, you know, as a Mets fan though too, you know, we're in the bullpen blew a couple of games for them this year, and but hasn't given up nearly as many runs as the Phillies. So we're in the sort of same boat. But like I said, the Mets have some live arms. It just Batanzas sort of cost DeGrom a win last night, but they came back and won in the ninth. Beating the Marlins, your nemesis, the team that the Phillies can't seem to beat, and the Mets have beat them, I think, 2 games so far, or 3 in a row. So it's should be interesting though too. So, like I said, it's going to be interesting. The season's flying by though too, and the scary part is the Mets and Phillies are both right out of a wild card spot, which is in with the new system, or at least for this year. It's going to be interesting though. You know,
Isn't it nice? Isn't it nice how for the first time it feels like every single regular season baseball game matters? I mean, I think it's wonderful. Like every day I check my phone, I'm like, oh my god, the Phillies lost or the Phillies won, and I get really excited. I'm like, this feels like it matters. Yep. Generally, in the first few months of the year, up until really the end of July, trade deadline, after that, beyond that point, you don't really care, because you know until the end of July, your team's either in it or out, and then you can follow if you please. So nothing really matters up until that point. Now every single game feels like it matters, and I love the National League DH. I know all the old timers, they hate it. They're like, I need the double switch. I don't want to watch a pitcher hit 112. I have Scott Kingery to hit 112. If I wanted to see 112, I'd just play Scott Kingery every day. So I don't need to see that.
Well, like I said, we've being a couple generations apart. It's I know when I played Little League ball and all growing up through middle school, high school, and such, you saw pitchers hit, and I know it's different even in college too. And some of these pitchers that came to the major leagues that in college were pretty good hitters. Some were even like shortstops or outfielders, or and some obviously just exclusively pitched. But I just think it's a part of the game. I wish they went back the other way and really had both leagues go back to pitchers hitting. It's just they're part of the lineup. It's almost like I don't know how to describe it. I guess we don't see eye to eye on that, which is fine. But I will, again, talk about the guys getting hit though too, or retribution for a pitcher, losing control or beating one of the players. Guess what? Now with a DH, he never's got to face the music, and then one of his teammates has got to take one, no pun intended, on the chin or in the ribs, or hopefully no head hunting though too. But that's just like I said, and I sort of correlated to hockey where we saw it in the playoffs too, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But where guys, they sort of self-police themselves. Someone takes a cheap shot on your guy. Retribution, you're going to get into a fight, most likely, or you're going to get slashed or sticked, or, you're going to get hit pretty hard though, too, the rest of the game, and sometimes throughout a series. So, I'm not totally opposed to the DH, but I mean, I would rather that, National League stay with the pitchers hitting, because there's more strategy, double switches, pinch hitting in the 7th or 8th inning for your pitcher, pinch running and things of that nature. So, again, that's wayside though too, but it's definitely something that I wish they would continue to bring back or keep, but it is what it is. So give me some more.
I'm more on the side.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm just more on the side of I want entertaining offense. I think the more guys in the lineup you can have that can hit, can really be offensive threats, I'm all for. I mean, especially you see just the other sports have kind of adjusted their rules to be more friendly to offense, football, basketball, and you've seen the ratings go up. And baseball's had an issue recently with ratings and attendance, and I think a way you can bring some of that and excitement back is by adding it's really just easy offense.
Right.
So but there is one thing.
I was going to say, is that your generation? I mean, not to say, like, is that just like to try to keep attention, like a lot of offense? Like, you don't want to see I guess, would you rather see a 12-10 game or like a 1-0 game where the guy pitches a no-hitter? I mean,
well, I'm going to watch baseball anyway because right. I'm a baseball fanatic, but I do think the casual fan would rather see more offense. Now, does it have to be 12-10? No, but I think balls need to be put in play. I mean, that gets even deeper into the rules, but I think the more chances you have for balls to be put in play, for hits, I think it's better to gain the casual fan.
Right.
But there was one thing I wanted to talk about. Jose Altuve, who is a member of the Astros, who was caught cheating in 2017, was not punished by Major League Baseball, and so far this year is hitting under 200. He's hitting 190. He had a pretty good game today, but hearing a lot, he can't hit without the buzzers. He has to know the signs to be able to hit, and all these different things. He has to know what's coming. Do you think it's that he's not a good hitter and he needs to cheat to be able to be good, or do you think it's just in his head that really everyone hates him right now throughout Major League Baseball and kind of everyone? So just your take on, is it Jose Altuve is only good because he was a cheater, or where I kind of stand on it, it's just kind of in his head right now and it's just a slump because he's not used to everyone hating him?
Well, I don't know. I haven't been following the Astros too much. My question to you was going to be about, and I'll ask you in a second. I know, is he going through a slump? I mean, is it that much extra pressure to try to prove that the cheating was just an anomaly and he still could be a major leaguer and have his all-star type of year. I don't know. But I was going to ask you too, how many times has the team or him been beaten so far this year? Do you have any of those numbers or even an inkling of how many times he's been pegged or the rest of the Astros?
Well, I know there was the Joe Kelly incident where he threw at Correa and Bregman.
With the face.
Yeah, that was pretty good, actually. I enjoyed that. I mean, the ball wasn't at the – well, actually, the one was at the head, which I don't like. But if you're going to hit a guy, hit him in the leg, and that's where most of the pitches that he threw were. Jose Altuve is a great player. He's going to still remain a great player. I personally just believe that this is a thing where they got caught, they were doing something, and he kind of got caught up in it, and it's taking him a while because everyone was with him. He was like the little guy who was having a bunch of success, and everyone kind of loves. He's like the underdog. He's so small,
right?
And now everyone's against him. And I think it's kind of, he's kind of figuring out, how he's going to progress from that. And I think he's going to break out of it. I still think Jose Altuve is really good.
Right. Well, not too much chatter out there, so we're going to be continuing with you and I chattering back and forth there too. But again, anyone out there, bring your questions to the table, and we will try to answer them. Your opinions, anything you want to share. So, I wanted to. So you said the trade deadline is coming when? I believe
soon. The end of August, the 31st. Yep, August 31st.
So I guess we'll do like a little around the league too, and start with the National League East. What do you see for needs for all the teams in the division? I mean, most of them are still in contention. Nationals being surprised that they're at the bottom of the division right now. But again, anything's up for grabs. Team goes on a 4 or 5 game win streak, then it totally changes things. So what are some of your quick hit needs for each team in the East?
Well, I mean, the Phillies, obvious. I think it's bullpen. Mets, obvious. Also bullpen. The Braves, I think the Braves are really good. I think they could use maybe a third baseman. Austin Riley's been struggling, and probably a starting pitcher if they lost Mike Soroka. Then the Marlins, honestly, the Marlins just need to get their guys who are currently out due to COVID. They need those guys to return.
Right.
So that's their acquisition. And the Nationals lost Anthony Rendon and Bryce Harper in 2 consecutive years. I mean, what are you going to bring in? They don't have a ton of, payroll flexibility. I don't think. I mean, Scherzer, Strasburg, Corbin, they're great. Strasburg's hurt currently, so I don't really know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Or if there's even anything they really can do. But I mean, obviously, everyone can use bullpen help. But I think the Phillies have the most to gain from a trade deadline, because I think the Phillies can go from a team that's looking out from the playoffs to a team that is in the playoffs and potentially could win the division if they add a bullpen arm or two.
Yeah, I'm looking at the. We didn't spend too much time on with the Cespedes opt out, so they've been playing actually better without him. It just reminds me eerily similar to the Islanders playing without one of their top, if not their top player, in Tavares too this year. Obviously, getting the playoffs, so dropping a hint there. But yeah, I mean, definitely the Phillies, like I said, need an arm or two. It's you have half these guys that probably shouldn't be on a major league roster or so maybe double or triple A at best. But the offense, like I said, what's that?
Half? Only half?
Well,
I'm being kind.
I'm trying to be. We're still in the South Jersey market though too. So, but I don't know. I mean, I really think one of these teams is going to run, and the Marlins going to cool off. Maybe it's the Nationals, or is it the Phillies, or is it even the Mets though too? They're climbing back to 500. I don't know, but it's every team has their little needs. But I like it that this is a sprint rather than the full 162 game marathon though too. So definitely making it more exciting. The 7-inning games too are more exciting than I thought they would be, or even more than I would. I still like the traditional 9 inning game, but 7th inning gives you more strategy. Actually, you would think it helps the Phillies bullpen because if you have your starters like Wheeler and Nola pitching the entire game, complete game, 7 inning games, you don't have to see that that putrid bullpen. So, who knows? We'll see. It's definitely going to be. It's an interesting time of year, and the season's already flying by. At least, I mean, the Mets have almost played half their season already, and it's getting ramping up to not crunch time yet, but should be interesting for the East and the rest of the league as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Phillies are what they are. The bullpen is unwatchable.
Yeah.
But the Braves have been. I mean, Acuna's out, but they're still going to win games. And the Mets are the Mets. I will never buy into the Mets just because they are the Mets.
Let's hope they win the World Series. Hopefully, one of these years.
Yeah, well, hope is not a strategy.
No.
As we know.
Put the pom poms away. Wait, let me do this. Spice it up a little bit. Hang on 1 second.
We have breaking news here on the Sports Box.
After blowing a 7-0 lead, the Philadelphia Phillies succumbed to the Blue Jays 9-8 in 7 innings. Game just went final. So 9-8, Phillies lose the first game of a doubleheader. So yeah, that's. Oh, I'm sorry, not a doubleheader. I thought. Oh yeah. Oh, they lost both. I'm sorry, you did say that earlier. See, I thought there was later games. 3-2 in the first game and 9-8 in the second game. Phillies now go to 9-12. So there you go.
Yeah, they stink.
No,
they stink.
Speaking of stinking, what's going on with the jumping around the two as I always do, with the Tampa Bay Rays being super hot and the Yankees now half the game behind them.
Everyone on the Yankees is hurt.
You mean everyone?
I mean, Judge, Stanton, LeMahieu, Torres got hurt today. Severino's been out. Britton's hurt, and James Paxton today went out with an arm injury and has to get an MRI. The Yankees
pitched, 1 hit, 3 runs.
The Yankees, as usual, are getting the injury bug.
Yeah. Well, here was their starting lineup today: Hicks, Voit, Tauchman, Urshela, Torres, Gardner, Frazier, Kratz, and Wade. So there you go. And look at that pitching line. Paxton, 5 innings, 1 hit, 3 earned runs, 8 strikeouts, 4 walks. Scary.
Yeah. I mean, the lineup is a lot less potent than it was to start the season, certainly, when you miss, 4 of the guys that they're missing. And Luke Voit, however, is on a home run tear. At one point, his previous 5 hits were all home runs. So he's been carrying the offense in the absence of those stars.
So what type of move did you see the Yankees making? Any type of move right now, or just standing pat? I mean, what would you do if you're in the situation with the injury bug?
Just get your guys back. I mean, unless you think they're all going to be out, but I mean, they're going to come back. Judge is going to come back. Stanton will come back. LeMahieu, Torres. We'll see about Paxton. Maybe you go out and add a starter, but I still think the Yankees are the best team in the American League. And as long as Garrett Cole and Tanaka and the bullpen are there and that lineup is there, they're going to be fine. They're going to be in the World Series.
Anyone else as we scoot around? So again, not without the Yankees, if you're a Tampa Bay or a team like I'll stick with that, with the Blue Jays, or even the Orioles for that matter, still battling at 500. What type of moves do they make, if any? The Rays, Blue Jays, or Orioles?
I mean, I think the Rays can always use offense, and always seems to be something that plagues them. But they have a very good team. I think that them and the A's, I think, are battling for the second best team in the American League. Currently, the Rays are first place in the East, but that's because the Yankees are currently playing with a minor league squad compared to what they regularly put out. So I think for what the Rays have financially, they do a very good job. Brian says the Yankees will be fine. Yes, they will. They just have to get healthy, and they will, and they'll be in the World Series.
Well, that's also coming from, like I said, from a Yankee fan who's also a Ranger fan, saying the spinning it to his meet his motif. Hopefully his voice is back. He's not producing our show tonight, so Brian, enjoy the time off on the couch, tuning in. But yeah, it's the Yankees will be fine. We know that, those especially come playoff time. But just keep having a healthy bench or guys to step up in key situations, sort of like the Islanders did. Well, now he's on fire now too. So he's continuing with next question: how many major league teams are better than the Yankees B squad? You got to. I would say that not the whole league. I would say maybe 10 to 12 teams. I'll go 50%. Because I mean, without just going into analytics and looking at every single lineup, but you have to take the whole, the whole of the parts too. I mean, they're missing some of their key guys. Oh, there you go. No, light bulb just came on. So hopefully, there was no electric. I thought you might be reaching for a drink. I didn't know what was going on over there. But speaking of the two, with the my ADD mind running, what's your status on your hat there too? With I see you got the A01 foundation hat of Mr. Carson Wentz. Any reason for that this evening?
Carson Wentz is fantastic.
No. Okay. Short and sweet.
Yep.
That's what we like to hear, the two from BG. Any other, again, since the season progresses, any other surprises that you've seen? I mean, the Twins and Indians are basically deadlocked. White Sox with some of their young prospects right behind them, actually, a game out. Athletics leading the AL West, followed by the Astros. Looks like a 2-horse race right now. We already mentioned National League East. We have the Central. Cubs sort of cooled off a little bit at 16-8, and you have the Brewers 4 games behind. Everyone else is under 500. And then in the West, the Dodgers have reclaimed the top spot, followed by basically the other 3 teams, Padres, Diamondbacks, and Rockies, all at 13 and 14 and 12 respectively. So any other surprises or any other teams that really think that's going to make a push in baseball that should make a run at somebody, big name, a bat, and an arm, besides the teams we already talked about? Anyone else that you, off the top of your head, that you see would be a good fit in another team, or a team that's maybe overspending or overpaying in draft picks or prospects to try to win in this asterisk season?
Well, I would love to see for the best player in the sport to finally get back into the postseason, and they added Anthony Rendon. The Angels did to go along with Trout in the middle of that lineup. But they need to add some starting pitching to go along with Dylan Bundy, who's had a nice season thus far. I did some reading, and Johnny Cueto could be out there and available. That'd be a nice fit. But if the Angels could add an arm, I think they can get into the postseason, which would be fun. I want Mike Trout in the postseason. He belongs. He's the best player in the sport. It's weird. Every year in October, I watch the playoffs and the best players at home. So it'd be nice if the Angels could actually surround him with some talent to get into the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, they made some bold moves, and I mean, they have some talent out there. It just, I looked at that lineup going into when Ohtani was hurt last year or not playing, or the couple games that I watched, and you had it was literally, I mean, Pujols, and he's what, 38, 40 now, whatever he is, he's up there, and just like the lineup surrounding Trout, I'm like, how does this team even win? Like honestly, I looked at, I'm like, it was just a hedge. I didn't recognize, well, like most teams though too, in all sports I don't follow, but I watched 1 or 2 Angel games last year, and I said, seriously, how does this team win? I didn't recognize any pretty much majority of their lineup. Didn't make guys I didn't even hear of,
Well, they don't win very much. They win less than 33% of their games. They're currently 8-17. So their issues. I mean, Shohei Ohtani was supposed to be a savior. He was terrible. He's not pitching anymore. So there's some real issues there, just pitching wise.
Was that his decision or the team's decision?
Team.
And they lost to the lowly Giants yesterday as well, 7-2. Well, speaking of Johnny Cueto.
You know who stinks?
Who?
Gabe Kapler. I'm so happy he is far away from me. It's just
All right.
it
All right, here we go.
wasn't good for my health that Gabe Kapler was the manager of the Phillies.
Listen, Brando, we needed an elite reliever, and I'm very proud of these guys. They fought, they clutched and fought their way to a 13-2 loss. They're 10-16. We're coming back. We need some elite players, but they're all presenting very well. And out in San Francisco, it meets my agenda where I can put on my coconut oil, and that's all I have to say right now. Sorry.
Yeah, that makes me sick. Anything Gabe Kapler related makes me sick.
Well, there you go. Something else that will make you sick as we segue. Any other thoughts on Major League Baseball before I know it? We're already halfway home, and I'm going to move on to the team that probably makes you the biggest disappointment, I would say. Your one and only Philadelphia 76ers.
Yeah, the Sixers stink. But tonight is the NBA draft lottery at 8:30.
12.5%? No.
No, I don't think the Sixers have a 12.5% chance of the number one pick. If they did, they'd probably mess it up anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
And again, they're talking about this on the radio today, tomorrow's going to be interesting with a doubleheader, Philly loss and blowing a 7-0 lead. I can't wait for Angel might just blow a gasket. But they are speaking about it on the radio the last week or so. What do you do with this team? Do you obviously? I believe Brett Brown. If they get swept, even lose, even in 7 games. I mean, I don't see them winning the series at all. But I actually picked them to lose in 4 or 5. Going back and forth. Do you blow up the whole team? Do you give them one more year of the guys and just get rid of Brown? Do you get rid of Simmons, Embiid, one, both? What's your take from your 76ers standpoint?
I mean, they have just done such a terrible job. I feel like we talked about that. It's almost clockwork for the last 5 or 6 years. It's just what do the Sixers do? And it's just I think they've done such a terrible job building this team around 2 stars in Joel and Ben. They gave out bad contracts to Tobias Harris, Al Horford. They traded away Jimmy Butler and got Josh Richardson, who's nowhere near Jimmy Butler. I think it's funny that the Heat are up 2-0 in the playoffs at a higher seed with Jimmy Butler as their best player, and the Sixers let him go.
You would have kept him?
I would have kept him over Tobias Harris. Yeah, he's a much better player than Tobias Harris. He's a winner.
Yeah.
I don't really know what you do at this point because I feel like you have to. I don't know if Joel Embiid wants to be here. You listen to his comments, you look at his body language, so you got to figure out which star you're going to keep, which star you might let go. If you're going to keep both, if you just fire the coach and bring in a new coach and you just try to run it all over again, I think that's probably the most likely scenario. Though I don't agree with it, but I think that's what they're going to do.
Well, I want you to know, Brandon, that I want to be here. I like playing the video games in the bubble. I don't like posting up. I like shooting the 3. So just get off your phone and stop being 20-something-year-old and focus, okay? Anyways, I mean, they blew it they had a shot against the Celtics in the first game. So I don't. And I was looking at the Bucks too. That was one of the surprises too. The Bucks losing to the Magic in the first game. But I see the 76ers. What do they play tomorrow? Celtics are 5-point favorites. I think it'll be a close game. I maybe they steal this game somehow, but I just don't see the fire in them though too. I don't know. I mean, I'm not me being a Net fan, a lowly Net fan that in the playoffs lost to the Raptors by 5. And they're playing with their. Speaking of B squad, they showed the Nets injuries. Look at the starting 5. The guys that are injured, it's almost like a starting 5. You got Durant, Kyrie Irving, what's his name? The center. Oh my gosh.
DeAndre Jordan.
Thank you. And you have other guys too on the bench. Well, they picked up. He was more like Jamal Crawford injured, even though he was a mid-season or signing. You have Levert that's trying to do it himself, and then you have a couple of their other stars too. But yeah, with Durant, Irving, Crawford, and a couple of the other guys that are out, it's scary. That this team is even competed for. I mean, I don't see them obviously winning the series. I see them maybe they could steal a game somehow, but they're doing. Oh, and Dinwiddie too. I forgot about him. So that's 3 potential starters that you have. And the team got in as a 7 seed nonetheless. So I'm just excited for that team next year to see. It's not even a process; it's the signing of 2 big name free agents. So I want to see them how they do with Durant next year, and that team's going to be totally different. So just watch out for them if they stay healthy next year. The next year or two, that the Nets could be at least a team that's in the top 4 or 5 teams in the East as opposed to a 7 seed. So I'm excited at least the way things are progressing. Potentially.
Yeah, I think the Nets, certainly Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, 2 of the better players in the sport. And if you're an NBA fan and you're hoping for your team to get better, the NBA draft lottery, which is tonight at 8:30 p.m., there is only one current playoff team with a lottery ball. It's the Boston Celtics, who get the pick from the Memphis Grizzlies. They have a 0.5% chance at number 1 overall and a 2.4% chance to be in the top 4. The Golden State Warriors, Cleveland Cavaliers, Minnesota Timberwolves, all with a 14% chance. And as Brian has put out many times, 12.5%, there's one team with a 12.5% chance, and that's the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks with a 12.5% chance to acquire the number 1 pick. Matt, I ask you this. Of all the teams in the top 14 or in the lottery, who do you think needs the number 1 pick the most? Who would benefit from it the most?
Okay, that's a real dumb question. Who is going to be the? That's how much I don't follow too much college. Who's the number 1 pick? That's a shoo-in. Is there another Zion out there this year?
I don't think there's another Zion, but there's the Anthony Edwards from Georgia, who will be the number 1 pick most likely.
So who need? I mean, it's funny and sad with the NBA though too. I mean, there's any one of a number of 7 or 8 teams could use. I mean, look at even the number 8 seed like the Magic though too, under 500. The Nets under 500. And then you have these teams that won 10 to 15 to 20, 25 games this year, but there's like 8 to 10 teams like that. So I don't know. I mean, who could use it? Yeah, look at the records too. This is just in the East. 19 and 46, 20 and 47, 20 and 46, 21 and 45, 22 and 43, 23 and 42, and then 25 and 47. That's atrocious. That's 9 through 15. And then you look at the West, which only the number 8 seed Trailblazers were only the only team that made the playoffs that were on the 500. Then you have the Grizzlies, 34 and 39, the Suns, down to the Golden State at 15 and 50. You know what? I'll throw. Let's say I'll go to a team like that, like Golden State, that could get definitely a burst of energy with that could definitely use it to honestly rebuild that team, but just give it another star since they lost Durant too. A team like that where you have the stale for that too, because that team was dominant with Durant there, but without him, I mean, and other injuries obviously this past year, they were one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in the league. So a team like that, but any one of those teams I mentioned, any one of those bottom 8 to 10 teams could all use the number 1. So we'll see. Oh, and there it is. And that's exactly what I was talking about, Golden State. So Brian, chime in. Brian being our go-to commentary tonight, he really hopes Golden State wins the lottery. And again, that would make them back to realistic. Say back to relevancy though too. So that was the team that I thought of. But again, any one of those 8 to 10 teams could all use a star to really maybe revitalize these franchises. Because I said some of the bottom teams are it's horrible. It's like you can't even. Some of these guys are unwatchable. Some, like I said, compared to baseball, the Phillies bullpen, you have starters that in any other sport or they shouldn't be starting. I didn't even know 3/4 of the guys in the league now, which is kind of scary. But some guys are starting and some guys come down to injuries. But Golden State is one of the teams that Golden State could definitely use it if they win the lottery. They maybe put them back on the map quicker than later.
Yeah, I agree with Brian 100% because the Warriors with Steph and Clay and Draymond coming back, and they also added Andrew Wiggins. They have a shot, if they get the number 1 pick, to potentially move that pick and maybe package an Andrew Wiggins and go out and get another superstar. It probably will take more than that, but there's a guy out in Milwaukee who, if the Bucks do not win the title, could be looking to get out of Milwaukee, knowing that he's never going to win a championship there. And that's a player who we've heard rumored to the Golden State Warriors. And I think that would be very interesting if that were to happen. And the guy who's projected to go number 1, Anthony Edwards, did an interview, and he said that the GOAT in the NBA is not LeBron. It's not Michael Jordan. He said it's Kevin Durant.
There you go.
So he may already be living in Golden State, doing some of the legal substances that are there to be saying that, but that's what he said. So
very interesting. So I can't wait to see. Like I said, who what time is that tonight?
8:30.
8:30. So we might try, for any of you NBA fanatics out there, we might try to end the show maybe a minute too early so you could catch that. For any of you fanatics like Brian is with hockey, and maybe you could lose your voice and not talk and scream about 12.5%. Jason Srignoli, my Canadian harness rating partner, he just says, yo, Jason, thanks for tuning in with the hopefully everything's safe up there up north, and staying safe from the virus, and hopefully I'll see you on the track in the near future.
Hopefully he's not a Canadians fan.
He's actually a Calgary Flames fan, and his wife is a Montreal Canadiens fan. So a little battle right now. We'll get into that in a minute about the Flyers not closing out the Habs too.
Brian,
what's he saying now?
The Warriors becoming elite again and blocking LeBron from winning again would please me a great deal. I absolutely 100% agree. Steph Curry is my favorite player in basketball. He's so entertaining to watch. So I don't love the NBA. I'm a Sixers fan, but Steph Curry is my favorite player. They're fun to watch. So the Warrior and beating LeBron is always fun.
Can I go on a limb here?
It has happened 6 times in the finals. So
do you like? I mean, I know they won the first. I actually like from just watching a couple games or two. It's a totally different team, and I forgot who mentioned it on TV the other night. The Trailblazers are a totally different team right now, going into the playoffs too. With that last push, I mean, McCollum was lights out in the clinching game against the Grizzlies. You got Lillard, you got Nurkic at center. An older, still out of shape, as I say, Carmelo Anthony, but they play 8 guys, so they're not that deep. But do you give them more than a puncher's chance in the series, even though they, winning the first game? Well, what are your thoughts on that?
Do I give them a chance to win the series? A realistic one? No. I don't think LeBron's going to let that happen. He's never lost a first-round playoff series. I don't think this is when it starts. They lost by 7 the other night, and they couldn't.
For LeBron.
But they couldn't make a shot. So I don't think they're going to lose the series. I think Portland benefited greatly from getting Nurkic back. He was hurt most of the season.
Yep.
And came back now, so they certainly benefited from that. Carmelo Anthony's been clutch in a couple of big games in the bubble. But I don't see them being able to beat the Lakers with LeBron and Anthony Davis. I just don't.
Yeah, I'm giving them a fighter's chance too. Especially if they somehow pull off tonight and up 2-0, look out. Like all no holds barred. They have nothing to lose too. So I just that was the one team that going into the this tournament that I said they look like a different team. I caught their last couple games. I caught them against Houston as well. I believe the game 2 before the playing game, and then I saw them against the Grizzlies though too when they were down, and then just McCollum hit a couple clutch threes at the end of the game. So interesting though too. We'll see what happens. I'm just waiting for these teams to get narrowed down. And I guess the 76ers fans are looking for, obviously still want to win, but I mean, a lot of 76ers fans, hopefully they get swept. So definitely get rid of Brett Brown, but another first round playoff loss or two. I mean, I don't know. That's why I brought up about blowing it up or keeping one or both guys or just starting over and starting a whole new process. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to restart the process, especially with the owner and what he's invested into the team, just in terms of buying the team and he acquiring Simmons and Embiid, their moneymakers, which is why I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult for him to let go of either one because he's a money guy. He's not a basketball guy.
Right.
So I don't know if he's going to sign off on them getting rid of an Embiid or a Simmons. I think Simmons would be easier to let go because he's not quite the box office doesn't have quite the box office appeal that Embiid does. So I think it'll be interesting, it's very tough to run a franchise that way where you have a guy who doesn't really care much about basketball or know anything about basketball, but wants to get and meddle into the process.
Yeah.
I think that becomes problematic.
Speaking of problematic injuries around the league, we'll start off with moving on to the NFL with your Philadelphia Eagles. Updates, injury, who's hurt, how serious, and what do you attribute it to?
I mean, there's a boatload of injuries throughout the league. Tyreek Hill went down today with a foot injury. KJ Hamler went down. Von Miller had an injury. Melvin Gordon had an injury. Miles Sanders, Javon Hargrave for the Eagles. So, I mean, there's a lot of injuries going around. There were no OTAs, so I think it's expected they're going to see some guys kind of get rushed back into playing football, have some injuries. Now, hopefully it doesn't carry into the regular season where just everyone goes down. That would be terrible. But I think a lot of teams are just being cautious with their guys just due to the fact that they didn't have OTAs. But I think that could be problematic because if you're too cautious, then you might not be ready to go come the regular season. So I think there's kind of a balance there. So I'm not too worried about the Eagles at all. The Broncos got killed a little bit today just in terms of the volume of injuries and the star power that went down for them. But I mean, we haven't seen any quarterbacks suffer any injuries, so that's always a good thing.
Speaking of quarterbacks, is Alex Smith back?
That might be the best story right now in all of sports. Alex Smith has been practicing; he's cleared to go, and he's moving around well. I don't know if he's going to play or start. They did draft Dwayne Haskins in the first round just 2 years ago. They do have a new head coach in Ron Rivera, so there's not much of a tie there.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to want to play the best guy. But if Alex Smith never plays an actual regular season NFL game again, just him being able to walk and be able to play football is a tremendous accomplishment.
Yeah.
For a guy who almost lost his leg, and there was legitimate concern
17 surgeries, I believe they said.
Yeah, there was legitimate concern that he could have lost his life, and with all of those surgeries and with the infection that he had. So it's a remarkable story, and it's a true testament to his determination to come back and play.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I would like to watch that special one of these days to see what the whole trials and tribulations he went through with the recovery and the comeback and almost losing his leg and all the surgeries and painful hours and therapy that he went through. Staying on the topic of the I'll say the Redskins or whatever their new. Did they come up with a new name as the Red Orange?
It's the Washington football team.
Okay, well, so then so here's another thing. Speaking of the other Native American team, Chiefs ban fans from wearing Native American headdresses and face paint. I mean, we're not going to get too much. We don't do politics on the show, but it just that was breaking as of 3 hours ago on one of the apps or two. So again, just interesting though the take from the Chiefs actually banning fans. I guess they're gonna throw them out if they have any type of Native American garb on them, which is understandable
Well,
at one point, but unfortunate on another.
luckily, they can replace that garb with Super Bowl champion attire for the season, so I don't really think that will be much of an issue there.
Well, they're also reviewing the Arrowhead chop though too. So yeah, but anyways, we'll move away from there and so any other big names or anything else that's progressing or actually here's a question. Do you think is the season going to start on time?
Yeah, I think there's too much money involved. The NFL is going to play. Here's how I know that the NFL season is going to be on time, and that the owners are not concerned that if there's going to be a full season, they're paying guys tons of money right now. I mean, you saw Patrick Mahomes get $500 million. George Kittle got paid. Travis Kelce got paid. So, I mean, these owners are not too worried about the future salary cap and even the current situation. So I think they know that there's going to be a season.
And we shall see. I mean, I hope it does start on time. As the playoffs, I guess, won't be winding down though too. So it's going to be interesting to see. I guess this is probably the first rare times that all four sports could be playing at one time. Correct me if I'm wrong, right?
Well, they usually do at the end of the seasons.
Well,
at the end of the baseball season, and then the beginning of the hockey, basketball, and then the football is usually midway through the regular season.
Yeah, I guess more of with the with the playoffs too, with hockey and basketball, and then with baseball, which would be so it's definitely an interesting year that's been flying by with a lot of uncertainties. So yeah, so
there is something I wanted to bring up. So I had posted today in the Outside the Box group, which you should join, by the way, if you're watching.
Oh.
And I asked there were 12 teams that made the NFL playoffs. Now there's 14. Do you think that each team that makes the playoffs has a realistic chance to win the Super Bowl? Personally, I think there's only about 4 each year that have a realistic chance of winning. And then obviously you have the once in a blue moon outliers like the 07 Giants. But I think for the most part, there's only about 4. What are your thoughts? Because it seemed to be a pretty wide margin of voters who all believe that all of the teams do not have a realistic shot. Just your thoughts on that.
Well, you mentioned the outliers too, but it's the one sport, I guess, since it's single elimination playoff games, that any team could, have a lights out performance from their quarterback, from their star wide receiver, from a no name, from a defensive lineman, whatever, a big turnover. So I do feel this day and age, probably now more than ever, or at least in the with Brady going to the entire other division, that there are you said 4. I'd say there's 6 or 8 off the top of my head that I think
year to year there's about 4 teams that you look at. You've seen the last 7 years, it's been 1 or 2 seeds in the Super Bowl entirely. So I think if the better teams are generally the better seeds, and those are the teams that generally make it to the Super Bowl. And I think when you look at the 12 teams, I can right away cross 4 off. I just you look at the bracket and you look at the teams that are in, you just cross about 4 teams off, and you have about 4 teams that have a legitimate shot, and then there's about 4 teams kind of in that they're kind of close to winning, and they have a massive flaw. And you might sometimes you get an outlier where one of those teams can win a Super Bowl, but I think 99% of the time it's going to be the better teams are going to win.
Yeah, and for the most part, I agree with that. Like I said, just speaking of outliers, like last year, I mean, who would have thought the Titans coming out of nowhere and being a half away from upsetting the Chiefs too. So
they were never winning that game.
But again,
they were never winning. They were never winning that game in Kansas City against Patrick Mahomes.
I get it, but they were in the game. My point being is there are teams like that, and this day and age, especially this year of all years, I would say there's going to be that outlier anomaly because look at just the way the world is in the world of sports and just in general. I really see being some type of weird year with all playoffs, but especially like football. So I'd say in a normal year, it's always it was the Patriots too, and now at least the that division's up for grabs too. With the Jets hopefully still improving, the Dolphins and the Bills, but I really think this year more than ever there's going to be some surprises. Maybe 1 or 2 teams that are surprised to get in, and then a couple teams that go for a long run and not your stereotypical top, like you said, 4 to 5 to 6 teams that you normally see in the championship game or the Super Bowl.
Jets gonna get in?
What's that?
Jets gonna get in? They're gonna.
I hope so. I mean, as I said, they did make some waves a little bit last year, but it's the Jets. That's why I've been watching them since the early '80s, and anytime you think they're close, I mean, who would have thought they would have made to 2 championship games and be that close to Super Bowl with the franchise though too. So, yeah. So that's the scary part though too. But I could talk to them blue in the face and give you some scenarios where they were, like I said, a half away from beating Denver to make it to the Super Bowl and called a halfback option, and that don't or roughing the passer on like 3rd and 23 from Cleveland's 3, and Gastineau takes the Bernie Kosar's legs out there too. So we'll segue into and we'll be mindful of time though too. We have a couple minutes left, but just quick touch on Brandon's favorite sport that he's all knowing though too, more than Brian the Ranger Attard, is NHL. And one comment came in. Sorry, Anthony Morello said Jalen Hurts, and there you go. But Brandon,
I think that comment was directed towards me and the hat I'm wearing. And...
Oh, there you go. So,
yeah, I don't see Jalen Hurts selling any hats or T-shirts.
All right, well, we'll keep
just kids with book bags putting his name on it, which is great, but.
So what do you think of the Flyers not finishing out the Canadians and forcing a Game 6, and Hart looking a little bit shaky for the first time in the playoff series?
Yeah, he's given up some goals in this series. What was Game 5? Going into Game 5, the Flyers had given up more goals than they scored in the series.
Yeah,
which I thought was interesting. So they've gotten outscored in the series so far, and they still are. So I think that's interesting to see. The defense has been an issue. Voracek had a couple of power play goals, so that was nice to see. But they need to turn up the intensity, certainly defensively, and get back to keeping the puck out of the net. If they're going to go anywhere, right?
Especially no one says spoken like a seasoned veteran. By the way, I did double check with Brian. If the Islanders close out the Capitals tonight and the Flyers take care of the Canadians in Game 6 or 7, guess who will be playing in the next round of the playoffs?
Do the Flyers play the Islanders?
Islanders. Speaking of Islanders, no score halfway through the first, which I presume will be a low-scoring affair, like most of the Islander games. Very happy with the way the Islanders have played so far. Fell asleep a little bit with a 2-0 lead. After you texted me, though, too, that's when I so I don't know if you got the Brando mush on that though too, but gave up a couple stupid penalties. No intensity after they were ahead 2-0. Second, third period outplayed by the Caps, and then Ovechkin scoring on a power play goal, and Barzal of all people, one of their mild mannered players. The two holding calls in 4 or 5 minutes too. So got to stay out of the box tonight. Keep the Capitals out. Away from the one of the strengths with the power play and a couple of their snipers on there, especially Ovechkin. And I said the only other. Go ahead.
What happened to the Capitals? Because they were the number 1 seed in the regular season. Now I know it was a shortened season. There was the stoppage and everything that happened, but what happened to them? Because they have really, really fallen into a slump.
It's a lot of like with matchups too. I liked, if I knew the Islanders would get by the Panthers, I saw the Capitals matchup. That's the one team I wanted to play, and just the besides obviously Trotz being their former Stanley Cup winning coach, He knows the majority of the players on that team, and just his system works. They lock down them defensively. When the Islanders have a lead using third period, they sort of, it's tough to get through the neutral zone and get into the offensive zone on them, and they just play a tight, sound system that I think works. Brian obviously disagrees with me on that. The next round will get tougher, but hey, in this crazy year, I don't put it past anybody though too, like a Vancouver, if they get out of this round, or Dallas, or any team that's that wasn't the top 1 or 2 seed, and like I said, the Islanders as well. So they're in the tournament. They're playing really well right now. I said a little bit lapsed the other night mentally. Couple for a good 10-15 minute period gap, and then a couple penalties that they normally don't take. If they cleaned up tonight, hopefully they close them out tonight, because I don't want to start getting nervous and getting into Game 6 like the Flyers. But because if the Flyers lose Game 6, then it's up for grabs too. Obviously, I don't see them doing that, but you never know. Like I said, the Canadians have been fighting hard though too, and playing sound hockey as well. And after Gallagher being benched in the third period in Game 4, he was probably the best player on the ice though too. Even though I don't think he scored, but slashing guys, like, just he wanted to fight. He was going to try to fight Provorov in the first period, and he just upped his game and his intensity and showed why he's one of their top players, and helped them just with his energy level. And the rest of the team was able to pull out that, and they gave up 2 goals on the 5-minute major that one of the players got thrown out of the game for, but they came right back after the game was tied and scored, I think, less than a minute later. So it should be interesting. Too. Looking forward to seeing that Game 6 and watching the rest of the Islanders game tonight. So we won't get into the rest of that. And plus, if the NBA lottery is coming up in a couple minutes, any other thoughts right this second before we go to our sponsor?
So with the long layoff with COVID and everything, there's shortened seasons, and I know people have talked about there being an asterisk next to any championship that would be won. If I'm a fan of any team, and like hockey or the NBA or even Major League Baseball with the shortened season, that wins the World Series, the Stanley Cup, or the NBA Finals, I'm still treating it like a regular World Series or a regular, whatever it is, a regular title. So even though there might be a national feeling that it's not as much as well deserved as a regular year, as a fan, it would be just the same. There would be no different at all. Like if the Flyers win, however much I would have cared in a regular year would be the same now.
Yeah, and I agree with that as well. I know there's a lot of people saying with the shortened season. I mean, with basketball and hockey, they're still going through playoffs though too, and like a full 7-game series though too, as opposed to, like I said, the only one that might be questioned is the 60-game baseball season though too, because it is less than half a season. I mean, so that's the only one that I'd say not questionable, because you still have to win it though too. And I would, if I was a fan of the team, I'm still going to take it as a championship. But that's the only one that might be more scrutinized than, let's say, basketball or hockey.
Yeah, for sure.
And by the way, before we break out of here, we're going to get a quick ad from one of our sponsors. So if you haven't already done so, check out CrowdPlay. Type in the words "the box" and get 10 free points. So check them out. Brandon, any other final parting thoughts before you go watch some playoff hockey or the NBA lottery?
Yeah, the Phillies need a bullpen.
Well, Short and sweet, though, too. I'm going to go hopefully cheer on the Islanders. And we appreciate all you out there who are watching. Thank you for all the comments, mainly to Mr. Attard, who got a night off from producing, and maybe in the future. So thank you all of you for watching. On behalf of Brandon Gazzara and myself, Matt Zuccarello, for the On Point Show, we'll see you all next week. Same time.
Don't forget to like the page.
That is exactly correct. And we'll see you next week on the same bat time, same bat channel.
Thank you for watching the Sports Box. Follow us on Facebook at Sports Box Show, Twitter at Sports Box Show, Instagram at The Sports Box Show. Find us on YouTube and join Outside the Box, our Facebook sports discussion group. The Sports Box is brought to you by our friends at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and use promo code THEBOX at sign up for 10 points. See you next time.